I mean, you've covered both 3D and 2D Zelda games,
Hmm.
and there's so many similarities in the way dungeons are designed. But I guess I'm curious about. I mean, like there's um, traditions of Zelda design that carry over from 2D to 3D
Hmm.
conventions. But I guess I'm curious about the differences in 2D and 3D dungeons, and maybe surprising similarities, kind of that you've noticed as you've analyzed all the dungeons.
Mm. Yeah, I had someone say to me once that they felt 3D dungeons relied too much on having like a central room and that 2D dungeons are a little more labyrinthian. And I was like, that's an interesting thing. But then as I played through and did videos on A Link to the Past, I was like, I think this is untrue actually because I feel that they can both be sort of labyrinthian, but having a core central room definitely existed since A Link to the Past. Like that's just how it is. So, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities in sort of the way they use sort of important visual landmarks to sort of ground you in like an exploratory focal point, um, usually in like a central room that the dungeon branches from. But yeah, I mean, there's an interesting translation to be had from 2D to 3D just because you can have your puzzles use that verticality better. And A Link to the Past, for example, I keep bringing this game up. Sorry, I do love the game, but it has it sort of has to fake verticality in a way because it basically has like 2D planes stacked on each other, but there's no legitimate height in it. But I think 3D games can have that exploratory sense feel a little more alive and real. I think that's an advantage to the 3D Zelda games is their dungeons tend to feel more like real places in the world rather than video game levels, and that's not necessarily the case in 2D games. But the 2D there is something kind of pleasing about the 2D Zelda dungeon experience because there's sort of an eloquence to its simplicity in a way. Not that they're necessarily simple; they tend to have very good sprawling level design with great puzzles. Um, so not to say like they're bad or easy, but there's an element that's different there. That is, I don't know if I'm articulating this well,
Well, I
but
think I've noticed what you're talking
yeah.
about like the simple elegance, at least in some games that I've played recently.
Mhm,
I have a friend who's been getting into 2D Zelda games. He's
mhm.
been actually kind of averse to the 3D Zelda games
Interesting.
in a weird way. I showed him Ocarina of Time, and I think it was just too old for him. But I showed him Breath of the Wild, and he also struggled to get into it just because I think it was too free form.
Hmm.
There weren't goals, but he loved the Oracle games, and this is like a we're playing this
And
in
they're great games.
2024, and the
Mhm.
Oracle games, I think just you walk into a room and you can see everything in the room, and I think that makes a
Yeah,
huge difference. There's no question about what the puzzles are or where to go. I mean, you have to figure it out, but you have all
totally.
the information.